Hey, what is up? And welcome to Tarot Thursday here on our Mystic Road Trip. I am Kim and I am your host. I am a tarot reader. I'm an astrologer. I basically someone who is very much into spiritual, magical, and mystical wellness, and believe that the universe has its hands in our daily life on a daily basis. That makes sense, right? Here we go. Gotta fix my hair. All right. So, as I said, today is Thursday, so that means we are focused on tarot. If you want more magical, mystical, and spiritual kind of stuff, you might want to go back and listen to Monday's episode, because Monday's episode was all about chromotherapy, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm getting into a bunch of different stuff, and I don't know if everything's going to resonate with me. That was kind of the idea of this Mystic Road Trip, was to go through and learn about things and see what resonated with me. And see what I wanted to include in my practice and in my path. And that's kind of why I decided to create this podcast, was that I really love to learn new things and I love to share it. That's kind of what I think I'm put here on the planet to do. If you look at everything I do, that's pretty much the core of everything. I'm a teacher, I'm a writer, I'm a podcaster, I am a tarot reader, an astrologer, a life coach, a holistic dietitian. So pretty much I think that that's kind of my calling in life. Unfortunately, it took me too long to figure it out. No, it didn't take me too long. It took me just about the right amount of time, but I do wish I had figured it out sooner, because, hey, it would have been a lot easier, and there'd be a lot less student loan debt. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, so on this episode, we talk about tarot. We take one tarot card every week. And really dive deep into it, talk about what its meaning is, symbolism, how to read it, what things are associated with it. I do this all in the hopes that maybe I can help you extend your practice out by extending my practice out, and the more you know, the better kind of idea. So yeah, if that's something you're into, let's do it. Before we get started though, if you want to reach out to me, you can do that. There's ways to do that in the description box. You want to support the podcast, there's ways to do that in the description box for financials. But at the very least, if you would just please like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, do all those good things, get me out there into the universe so that more and more people can join our community, and we can share more information and learn new things from a ton of different people. That's kind of what my goal is. If you want to know more about this topic and a lot of other stuff, go ahead and check out the link in the description box to my Medium publication. There's also a link to my other podcast called Where All the Ladies At. That is, if you're into history and women, you might want to check it out. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's it for the shameless plugging and housekeeping. Let's get started, shall we? So, last week we did Judgment. That means that we are on the very last card of the Major Arcana. And that means that next week we start the next suit, which is going to be Swords. So yeah. So that means if we're on the final chapter of the story arc that we've been following, that means it is the World card. It's not about globetrotting, guys, or world domination. It's about completion and fulfillment and balance and so much more. So, that being said, let's dive into the World. All right, the World. It is the 21st card of the Major Arcana, and if it shows up in your reading, it's basically saying something is coming to completion in your life. You have come full circle. Whatever that fool's journey was you were on, it is now ended, and you're about to start a new cycle. Basically, you finished your long race and you're crossing the finish line. But, you know, what's so special about the World cards is it is a card of completion and fulfillment. It is about that ultimate graduation. You know, you've learned what you needed to learn. You've overcome the hurdles, and now you get to bask in the success, right? It's an attaboy. It's a thumbs up from the universe, right? In practical terms, basically it says you are at the point where you can start looking back on your journey with pride, right? The World indicates it's time for acknowledgement of your hard work and the appreciation of the journey. And it's time to, in truth, what I would say, and this is just my interpretation, the major arcana arc, the story we've been following for the past 21 cards, 22 cards, is an ever going cycle, right? It's the Ouroboros. It's the end and the beginning, right? So the world is, yes, you are ending a chapter of your life. But that doesn't mean you're done. Sorry, my cat just made a noise like I needed to pet her. Right? It doesn't mean you're done with life. It means that this chapter is done and you're getting ready to start another one. And my way, the way I view tarot, the way I view the world in general, is that it's that cycle, right? So you started as a fool, now you're to the world, now you're going to go back to the fool and start this next chapter over. And then you're going to go back. And it's going to continue and continue and continue until you're no longer with us. And that's kind of how I look at it. In this case, what I would say, you can pause, you can breathe, you can take a little time to enjoy it, but know that something new is going to start happening, right? And that's kind of what I feel the world is about, right? It is, so you have the Wheel of Fortune, you have the world. For me, the way that I look at it, they're very similar energies, right? Except for the Wheel of Fortune is more, I always liken it to like the earth signs, right? It's more attached to career, physical health, the 3D world, right? And the world is, yes, it is attached to that, but it is, sorry guys, so much more. I'm still kind of trying to get over this like little cold. I can't seem to get rid of the cough. But the spring is coming, so maybe it'll be gone. Water and lemon, guys. I highly suggest it. Anyways, so with that being said, that's kind of the way I look at it. And the world is kind of like, it's attached to that. It is one part of that process. But the world encompasses so much more of the emotional and mental, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Maybe not the way everybody looks at it. All right, so now we have an idea of what the card is, right? Let's talk about some of the symbols, right? So by understanding the symbols, once again, I always say this. So when you pull a card, where your eye is drawn to is like the message that is the most important. So understanding the symbols of a card can help you be more proficient and more detailed with your reads, whether that be for you or for Aquarius, whoever you're reading for, right? So let's look at it. There are a lot of, this card is a very busy card. There are a lot of rich and very visual clues in this, right? So you're going to start with the central figure, usually a dancing woman. She's not dancing for fun though. She's dancing because she's completed something. It's like that I did it dance, right? But it also represents movement and the flow of life and harmony, right? She's achieved everything, all of this after a lot of hard work, right? It's a celebration. It's the cycle of life. It's growth and of accomplishment. So typically around this dancing woman is a laurel wreath. Now, the wreath isn't just a decoration, right? It is a symbol of victory and achievement. It was used in ancient Greece to denote athletes that won. So it's an honor. It represents honor and success and acknowledgement of a job well done. All these things, right? The wreath is basically the reminder to say, hey, you gotta celebrate yourself. You did a lot of hard work and you overcame a lot of things. You have come a long way. It's okay. Now, if you look in the four corners of the card, there's a little bit more of a mystical thing, right? You'll see the symbols of the four fixed signs, right? Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. These four signs also represent earth, air, fire, and water, right? Each of those plays an important role in maintaining balance and harmony, right? So Taurus is stability and grounding. Leo is passion and energy. Scorpio is emotional depth and transformation. And Aquarius is intellectual insight and innovation. These signs are there to remind us that life isn't just about one thing. It's about balance, right? You have to have earth, air, fire, and water. And if you want to be really, really a little more into it, it would be earth, air, fire, water. And then the woman in the middle, for me, would be spirit, right? You want to do the 5 elements. But the fixed signs also suggest that the cycle of life keeps going, right? What goes up must come down, all that kind of what's built must eventually decay, all these things. So this, like I said, for me, the world does celebrate completion, but it also says, hey, guess what? That rhythm's not going to stop. The world is not going to start moving because you achieved your goal and you finished that chapter of your life. There is another chapter, and there's more to come, right? The world is not just all surrounded by you. The world is going to continue to go. And that's kind of what the symbols of the card means. Now, if we look at the numerology, it is 21 in the deck. So if you break that down to 2 plus 1, that is 3. The number 3 is tied to creativity and communication and expression. So when linked to the context of the world, it really talks about the creativity it takes to come full circle, right? It says, it's basically you're saying you've gone through all the hard work. Now it's time to express your triumph, right? Oh, Lord. So, you got to think about it like this. After completing a long and challenging project, you are often ready to share your story, right? Reflect on what you've learned, put what you've learned into new endeavors, right? So this number also suggests growth, an ability to take everything you've learned to create something new, better, more refined. It's transition from the completion of one project to the beginning of something fresh. If you look at this tied with the world, it's not the end. It's the transition point. You've learned your lesson. You've wrapped things up, but you're already prepared for that next chapter that I talked about to unfold. So that is why 3 is so attached to that, right? And it is really the perfect number for this card. All right, so let's talk. How are we going to read this card, right? Because that's a lot of information. It could go a lot of different ways depending on who you're reading for, right? So how are you going to read this? So I do always want to say, first of all, going back to symbolism, the symbols I talk about are the ones that are on the traditional deck, okay? So I know that things change and there's different imagery and all that kind of stuff. That's not the issue. And that card, the messages that come to you, and this is something I thought about the other day that I don't know if I've ever said. The messages that come to you, depending on the card, right, may have a different message, right? So let me look at my deck here. I have a deck sitting right here, right? It is the Black Cat's Tarot, right? So let's look and see if I can find the world really quick. Let's look at this world card. 21. I know the world. I know the imagery on the world card. I love the imagery on this world card. Let me just tell you, but I have to find it first. Yes, the imagery on this card is beautiful. 21. Okay, so this is what I mean by the imagery may depend. And I know for those on Spotify, you're not going to be able to see this, but for those on YouTube, you'll be able to see. So I want you to see if we can get this without the light glaring on it. Let's see. Oh, that was pretty good. Okay, so this is the imagery of the world card in this deck, right? There's no laurel. There's no dancing woman. There's no 4 symbols, right? So this card, if I use this deck, the definition or idea of what the world card represents can be very different. And this is why I always tell you guys I'm using the traditional deck, because on this card there is no 4 corners, so it doesn't really allude to the 4 fixed signs. There is water, there is earth, there is air, there's no fire, but instead this cat is shedding, is putting on a new body, right? It's coming out of a lotus. So it's the end of a chapter, beginning of a new one. It still has the same meaning, but maybe it has a different definition in your mind. This is why I always say, guys, that I'm using the traditional deck, because that I you know, my reading in the traditional deck versus my reading to this for the world could be very different. Could be very different, right? All right. So also, I want to preface this next section by saying when I'm talking about reading it, I'm talking about reading it in the traditional way, right? So some people don't read reverse, some people do. Some people read it as slow moving energy. That's how I do it. Some people read it as the traditional way, where it's like the negative aspects of the card itself, right? Or meaning the negative emotional aspects of that, right? So let's talk about how you would read the world if it came upright. As I've said, it's the card of completion, celebration, ultimate achievement. It signals that you've just completed something big and now you can celebrate, right? High five, you've done it. You've achieved your goal. Whether that's long-term, whether that's a personal milestone, whether that's emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, you've completed it. It's about feeling whole and balanced. And it's an indication that you're at the top of the world. You've done the work, you've conquered your challenges, and now it's time to bask in the rewards. In other words, when you pull the card upright, you are getting a high five from the universe saying, take a moment, celebrate, and then get ready to move on to the next thing, right? On the reverse, if you get it in reverse, you've pulled up to that finish line, but you forgot to put the car in park. So you're close to something, but something's a little off, right? It often can mean like you're hitting a wall. You may be feeling like there's unfinished business. Something is missing. This nagging feeling is saying, something's just not quite right. Doubts, procrastination, things not being totally done. And when it comes like this, the universe is saying, hey, you have to address this thing. So there's something holding you back from feeling like you've completed this cycle. What's left undone? What did you forget? Did you forget to lock the door? What's still blocking your path? Is it unresolved feelings? Is it external obstacles? Is it lack of focus? If it's reversed, the universe is saying, hey, take a closer look at what's keeping you from tying up all those loose ends. It's time to look at those and finish the job so that you can embrace success and the wholeness of when the card flips upright, right? So that's kind of how you would read that card. There's obviously it depends on the question, it depends on the querent, depends on what you're looking for, depends on the deck sometimes, but in general that is what the world stands for. Now let's take a little look at a couple of things. I like to look at the associations because you can play with them and kind of get an idea, right? So the element that the world is tied to is earth. Makes sense, right? So it's grounding, it's stability, it's completion. Earth is really solid and reliable, and really earth signs really appreciate tangible results, right? You've done your mental, you've done your emotional work, and the earth is like, okay, back in the physical realm, guess what? You can see and touch all the rewards you've earned. And that's kind of how it goes, The earth element aspect of this is what keeps this card grounded and in the present. And it really reminds you to celebrate and take that moment, right? Now, this is the card. Now, there's a couple cards that have multiple zodiac affinities, right? This is the one card that has 4. And it's because it's attached to the 4 fixed signs, right? Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. The fixed signs are unwavering, has determination, they're steady, they're consistent. That's basically what this chapter of the book is saying, right? So, as I said, Earth is like, or Taurus is like practicality, stability. Leo is like passion and confidence. Scorpio is transformation and a power of renewal. And Aquarius is like intellect, innovation, that kind of thing. So these are all these. And all these have definitive signs. and all have to be there for something to be complete, right? The sign that this is attached with is Saturn. And Saturn is the taskmaster, if you might say, of the zodiac. It's structure, it's discipline, it's long-term effort. In the context of this card, it's very clear why Saturn is the planet. It's not an easy win that you've gone through. You've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you've been determined, you're crossing that finish line. Now you can accept responsibility and build solid foundations and stick to your goals, right? If you think of Saturn as the tough but fair teacher, the world is basically like them giving you the diploma kind of idea, right? It's like, here you go. So let's jump into some other stuff, right? Crystals, herbs, and God and Goddess association, right? So the crystal that's linked to this card is the clear quartz. And here's the thing, guys. I want to add a little caveat to this section as well, because I do know that there's more than one crystal that's associated with this, and it may depend on the situation in which you're using. I also know there's more than one herb that can be associated with it. I chose the one that I felt most connected to, and the one that I think really shines a light on the meaning of the card. But it's just my choice. So, and that is clear quartz. This stone is really about amplification, right? It helps magnify your intentions. It can strengthen you. It's very simple why I chose this one. Clear quartz can amplify the positive energy of your achievement, right? You've just finished a cycle. It's going to amplify that. It's going to help you feel more aligned, and it's going to give you help you like really grab onto that sense of accomplishment. It can also help you stay focused on your next step after this completion, right? And it's great for supporting your emotional growth and allowing you to get ready to reset and restart, kind of thing. When it comes to herbs, I chose lavender. You deserve a little relaxation and peace, right? And so lavender is pretty well known for calming and healing properties, and it can help you restore balance and kind of soothe the mind. Lavender is the perfect companion here because you've just went through all those struggles and overcome all that stuff, and now it's great for like a little tranquility and reduction of stress, and brings comfort, allows you to really kind of take time to reflect on your journey, and do so with a clear mind. You can do lavender tea, you can use essential oil in a diffuser, place a few sprigs in the house, all this stuff. It's basically, it helps you really grab onto that ability to take a pause, to take a breath, and savor the moment, right? It's there to help you unwind. It helps you appreciate how far you've come. It's a great herb to use. Now, when it comes to the god or goddess, and I'll do a caveat here too. Like, I know that not everybody follows the gods and goddesses, and not everybody follows the same gods and goddesses. I just kind of chose one that resonated, and that is Gaia, right? She's the earth goddess. She embodies balance and nurturing, completion and natural cycles. Gaia really encourages everybody to appreciate the completion of your journey and the equilibrium. So you can evoke Gaia. You might invite her to nurture energy to help you recognize the deep sense of fulfillment and that kind of stuff. She can remind you that every ending is also a new beginning, and so she really can embrace not only the completion but the next step, the promise of future growth, kind of, right? The idea. Now, all of those things you can use in different ways. You can tell, if you're working with a client, you can say, hey, try to embrace a quartz crystal, pick one up, keep it with you. You could talk about the lavender portions, all of that kind of stuff. All this stuff is usable for both you and your client. But let's also talk about mindfulness, because mindfulness is a big thing in my life. It's really helped me in a lot of things, right? So how can you really use this card and its energies in mindfulness? The card basically encourages you to pause and reflect on your life's journey. And that's pretty mindfulness forward, right? So I would say reflection is a big thing. Just take a moment, reflect on the goals and what you achieved, and even if it's a small victory, it's still good, you know, and make sure you celebrate, you know, acknowledge your efforts, really take the time to say, you know, good job, because I think sometimes we forget to do that. We forget to do that. When we complete a project and we finally hit something and we finally done something we've always wanted to do, we wait for everybody else to congratulate us, but we don't congratulate ourselves. And we're the ones who did the work, you know? And I think that's important. I also think being mindful of what the next step is, right? It's great to celebrate your wins and celebrate what's going on right now, but also you have to really be aware that you still have to take another step forward. So really, you know, take the next leap. You know, you're gonna have to close your eyes, you're gonna have to take a deep breath, you're gonna have to start that journey all over again, just like the Fool, right? So you go straight from the world to the Fool. That's the way it goes. I also think you can incorporate some of the associated things, like, you know, clear quartz. You can have that with you. You can use lavender. You can connect with Gaia. You can do all these things. Journaling is always a good thing. Meditation is always a good thing. These are all things I'm always going to say because it is the way to utilize the energies in a mindful way, because this is a tool. Same thing with astrology. Same thing with human design. Whatever you're into, these are all tools to help you navigate life. And you can use them in a trivial way, and many people do, or you can use them in a more meaningful and very mindful and very demure way, right? I think that's super important. And that's the world, guys. That's the tarot card of the week. You know, it's basically about achieving your goals and getting to the end of the race and getting ready for the next chapter. You know, hopefully this has helped you with your tarot practice. And yeah, until then, you know, until next time, I say, you know, do your thing. If you want to reach out to me, you can do that. You can reach out to me social media. If you're on YouTube, you can just hit me up in the comments down below. If you want to, like I said at the beginning, if you want to support the podcast, there's ways to do that financially through my Buy Me a Coffee and my Patreon. If you can't, like, comment, share, follow, subscribe. All those kind of things are much appreciated. And if you want more, you can check out my Medium publication, and you can also check out my other podcast called Where All the Ladies At. And I think that's it. I hope it helped you today, and I can't wait. Next week we start the Suit of Swords, and I'm super stoked by that. Yeah. And as always, guys, until next time, I just stay curious, stay blessed, stay safe.